Okay, I want to stop here for a minute because I think a good case can be made that the king of Babylon, which is figurative for Satan himself, that Satan is already here in the church. Because look at our churches, they're teaching pagan practices like Ishtar, Easter. Quick like a bunny, they roll their fertility symbols, the Easter eggs, and the bunnies. And also even Christmas is pagan because Christ was born during the Feast of Tabernacles, not on December 25th, because the word says that the Word became flesh and tabernacled amongst us. So there's your evidence. And the Feast of Tabernacles is around late September, early October. So anyway, let's continue. So by now, you are probably wondering about all those other nations, the other Hebrew nations, who are not of Israel, and the nations of the Gentiles, that all come in contact with Israel, right? I mean, if Yahweh is the creator of all mankind, are they not his children too? We know that they are all steeped in idolatry and heathenism, so what is their fate? The fact is, they are his children. He created all of the races of people and pronounced them all good, Genesis 1:31, and he loves them all. Okay, I've got to stop here a minute. Now, this was written a long time ago, 23 years ago, approximately, and we've learned a lot since then. In particular, we know that Yahweh doesn't love everybody. As a matter of fact, the word says, Jacob I love, but Esau I hated. And Esau was the progenitor of the Edomites. So if Yahweh hated Esau, he hated his children too, the Edomites. And we have another example where Christ told the Pharisees that where he was going, they could not come. And he was referring to after his crucifixion, when he would be resurrected and ascend into heaven with his Father, that they could not come there. And he told the vipers, he called them vipers and serpents, and said, how can you receive the kingdom? You know, they can't, because he explains to them in John chapter 8, I am from above, you are from beneath. Now you might be scratching your head wondering, what does that mean? Well, if you recall in Genesis chapter 6, we had these fallen angels which were kicked out of heaven into the earth, bound in chains of darkness, and that they actually took the daughters of Adam to wife and bear children to them. And these were our giants. And Yahweh sent the flood to destroy them, although he didn't get them all. There was still a residue, Goliath, for example. And Yahweh instructed the children of Israel to kill these Nephilim DNA type peoples. The Hittites, the Girgasites, the Canaanites, he said kill them, but Israel disobeyed. Guess what? Israel has been chastised by these people ever since. Anyway, let's continue. Yahweh has not forgotten any of his children, and I'm going to add here, his children are Israel, the Israelites, in his great plan. And so for the next several chapters in this book of Ezekiel, we as watchmen will be learning how our Father deals with them, individually, yes, but even on a national basis. Much of that dealing has to do with correction and chastisement. The important thing is that we know and understand that he always deals with them lovingly. How do we know that? Because whom he loves, he chastens. You see, that is one of the great and marvelous wonders about this flesh age. All of the sons of Yahweh can and do receive correction and even experience death without it killing the souls of those sons. If you are not familiar with the overall plan of Yahweh, then write to us for a free booklet, The Plan of God. It is just that many people don't realize that one of the greatest aspects of love is the proper use of discipline and chastisement. They are the tools of love that your children know that you love them. That's right, your children know that you love them when you discipline them. And the reverse of that is true also. If you do not discipline or correct your children, they will know that you do not love them. Okay, I'm going to just add here, we're not talking about beating your children or being abusive or, being disrespectful, but actually showing love when you discipline them. For example, when I was a little girl and I needed a spanking, my father would say, this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. So he was doing it out of love. I think my father spanked me and my brother because we were walking on some railroad tracks, which, endangered our lives. So he wanted to make sure we didn't do that again. So he disciplined us out of love. Okay, let's continue. Hebrews 12, verse 6. For whom Yahweh loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. This is important so we don't read Yahweh's word concerning the chastisement of the nations and get the idea that our Father is a big meanie. The purpose for all that is done unto them is for one purpose and one purpose only, that they shall come to know that he alone is Yahweh Elohim, who loves them. The wisdom is in knowing that all that our Father does and accomplishes is done in love, because he is love. 1 John 4, verse 16. And we have known and believed the love that Yahweh hath to us. Yahweh is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in Yahweh, and Yahweh in him. So, that is why the nations are chastised. Do you understand? He loves them, and he wants them to come to the point where they love him in return. That is what we are to understand every time we read his purpose for correction that is so very often written, that ye or they shall know that I am the Yahweh. I want to add another thing too about discipline. If a child is doing wrong and its parents do not discipline that child's going to feel terrible about itself because it knows it's not doing right, and that hurts the self-esteem. But if the parents discipline the child, corrects them lovingly, respectfully, but yet effectively, that child is going to know it's like the wrong has been righted. It paid the price for doing the wrong, which builds the self-esteem so that the child won't continue to do wrong, and its self-esteem will be built. It will grow and get better rather than worse. Okay, let's continue. Do you know how many times that phrase was written concerning the plagues brought upon the Egyptians? Here's an example, Exodus 7, verse 5. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Yahweh when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them. He could have just raptured the children of Israel out of there if he would have wanted to, if he didn't love his Egyptian children too. I might add there were a lot of Israelites in Egypt at the time. Okay, well, here we go. Those people of the nations today who possess wisdom can read the history of their people and know. However, there are few of those in this or any other generation with enough knowledge and wisdom to see it. Most will know when they die, and at such time when the King of Kings comes and all the nations of the earth turn in their crowns to him. It is called the day of Yahweh and the day of vengeance. Then they shall know that I am is Yahweh. There is one other thing we can learn from what is written concerning the nations, and that is that whatever our Father has said regarding their future has and will come to pass exactly as it was and is written. Seeing this, then, increases our faith to know that when he says something or promises something to us, we can always count on it. That is one of the substances of faith that makes it possible for a person to live in this final generation without fears and without anxieties. That is one of the many benefits to being a watchman in this final generation. With that background, we now begin Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 1. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against the Ammonites, and prophesy against them. The Ammonites are the descendants of Abraham's nephew Lot, by his youngest daughter. Lot, of course, was a Hebrew, but he was obviously not one of Abraham's children, and therefore not an Israelite. Note, there is so much confusion among people as to the difference between a Hebrew, an Israelite, and a Jew. Yet it is so simple if one thinks about it. Abraham, a Hebrew by race, begat his son Isaac, who begat 2 sons, Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, and 2 Esau. Israel then begat 12 sons, all of whom are Israelites, meaning of their father Israel, and all 12 of which comprise the whole house of Israel, i.e., all 12 tribes. And so a person must be a descendant of Jacob in order to be an Israelite, right? Lot, Abraham's nephew, was a Hebrew, but not an Israelite. Jacob's brother Esau, father of the Russian peoples, was of Abraham and even Isaac, and therefore a Hebrew, but he also was not of the house of Israel, for he was not a descendant of Jacob, Israel. Now, one and only one of the sons of Israel was named Judah. All Judahites are then Israelites, but the other 11 sons, though they are definitely Israelites, are not Judahites, i.e., they are not, never have been, and never will be the Jews. I got to stop here because Judahites are not Jews, Lance. There's a difference. A Judahite is descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whereas the Jews are actually are Khazars. They are Turkish Mongolian people that adopted Judaism. They were living in the land of Judea after the Judahites were carried away captive into Babylon. So we cannot equate Judahites with Jews. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue. Only a person who is descended from Judah can be called a Jew. Again, that's wrong. That's clearly incorrect, as I just explained, meaning racially a Judahite. And I might add, too, that in the word, Judahites were never called Jews. The Jews were distinct. They even fought against Israel. And they were actually the ones that became the Pharisees and the Sadducees that Yeshua said that they were of their father, the devil. In other words, they descended from the line of Cain. Check that out in John 8, verse 44. Okay, so let's continue now that we got that cleared up. The Apostle Paul made it quite clear twice that he was a Benjaminite, one of Jacob's 12 sons. Paul was not a Judahite. I want to add something here too, because the tribe of Benjamin actually combined with the tribe of Judah, so that Benjamin then was under the house of Judah. So whenever you hear mention of the whole house of Judah, you can bet your bottom dollar that includes Benjamin and even parts of Levi, because Levi was dispersed amongst all the tribes in order to give them the priesthood. Okay, let's continue. Romans 11, verse 1. I say then, hath Yahweh cast away his people? Yahweh forbid, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, and of the tribe of Benjamin. Philip 3, verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee. The majority of Israelites, therefore, are not of the tribe of Judah, who again was only 1/12 of the sons of Jacob, Jacob. If you would like more information on this subject, write for the booklet, The Abrahamic Covenant by E. Raymond Capt. So the Ammonites are of our people, i.e., Abraham's race, yet they participated in activities against Israel and Judah, such as plotting against Governor Gedaliah, whom Nebuchadnezzar appointed after the destruction of Jerusalem. It's Jeremiah 40, verse 14 and 41. Chapter 41, verses 10 and 15. They also gloated in the fact that Israel and Judah were scattered and defeated. Ezekiel 25, verse 3. And say unto the Ammonites, Hear the word of Yahweh Elohim. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, because thou saith Yahweh Elohim, because thou settest against my sanctuary when it was profaned, and against the land of Israel when it was desolate, and against the house of Judah when they went into captivity. When you discipline one of your children and one of his brothers sits over in the corner and goes, na 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 na, and reveals at his brother's punishment and revels at his brother's punishment and tries to take advantage of the situation, that brother better watch out. He just put himself in line for a good whipping himself. Verse 4, Behold, therefore, I will deliver thee to the men of the east for a possession, and they shall set their palaces in thee, and make their dwellings in thee. They shall eat thy fruit, and they shall drink thy milk. And so it has come to pass, the men of the east were the Babylonians. Here's the marginal note from this verse in the Companion Bible, page 1141. Quote, Josephus, Anthology X 9 and 7, tells us that Nebuchadnezzar subdued the Ammonites and Moabites in the 5th year after the destruction of Jerusalem. Compare Jeremiah 49, verse 28. Verse 5, And I will make Rabbah a stable for camels, and the Ammonites a couching place for flocks. And ye shall know that I am the Yahweh. Rabbah means plenteous, was the capital of Ammon, where the temple of Milcom was located. Our father said he was going to turn their city into a cow pasture. And so it has come to pass, and the reason for this punishment is again given. Ezekiel 25, verse 6. For thus saith Yahweh Elohim, because thou hast clapped thine hands and stamped with the feet, and rejoiced in heart with all thy despite against the land of Israel. Okay, you say, because you were gleeful that my people got corrected. You stamped with your feet, which means to dance, and rejoiced with despite against the land of my people Israel. Bend over his knee, Ammonites, you're going to get paddled. I have to add here that my father always turned me over his knee whenever he spanked me. And my brothers, he never used a whip or a belt or a switch or anything like that. And that's what I call love. He always used his hand because it hurt him as much as it hurt us. Okay, let's continue. Verse 7. Behold, therefore, I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and will deliver thee for a spoil to the heathen. And I will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries. I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Yahweh. Did he stretch out his hand upon them? And today there is no great nation of Ammon. I should say he did stretch out his hand upon them. And today there is no great nation of Ammon. Descendants of Ammon are with us today, but not as a great nation, because Yahweh destroyed their nation. Remember, it is ultimately for their own good. Verse 8. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, because that Moab and Seir do say, Behold, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. Okay, Moab was also Lot's son, and therefore Ammon's brother. The Moabites are used to be chastised for their hostilities to Israel and their evil doings, even their participation in the Moloch worship of passing their children through the fire, a great abomination in the sight of Yahweh. Ezekiel 25, verse 9. Therefore, behold, I will open the side of Moab from the cities, from his cities which are on his frontiers, the glory of the country, Beth Jesimoth, Baal Meon, and Kiriathaim. The reason Moab was even richer than that of Ammon is so-called, quote, the glory of the country, unquote. Yet check out the names of their cities, comma, the, quote, prides of Moab, close quote. Beth Yashimoth equals house of desolations, as in the abomination of desolation. Baal Meon equals Baal's habitation. The sign at the entrance to the city probably read, Welcome to Baal Meon, home of the pagan god Baal. Kiriathaim equals double city. Double-minded is more like it, trying to decide which god to worship. Verse 10. Unto the men of the east with the Ammonites, and will give them in possession, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. And so it is, they are not remembered among the nations. Verse 11. And I will execute judgments upon Moab, and they shall know that I am the Yahweh. He loves the Moabites enough to chastise them. Next we come to Edom, which means red, and is the land of Esau, Jacob's brother. Ezekiel 25, verse 12. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended, and revenged himself upon them. It is not without great cause that our Father takes vengeance upon Edom. Verse 13. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and I will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Yahweh said he would make it desolate from Teman in the south, even to Dedan in the northwest, meaning from the Dead Sea to the Atlantic Gulf of the Red Sea. Finally, this next verse and the three which follow concern Russia and the Kenites, respectively. And I just want to add, the Kenites were, that word is used to describe the offspring of Cain. You can also read of their prophesied destinies in Numbers 24, verses 15 through 25. Ezekiel 25, verse 14. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith Yahweh Elohim. The prophecy in Genesis 25, verse 23, concerning Edom, where Esau, the father of the Russian people, dwelt, has come and continues to come to pass. Esau was the older brother of Jacob, and Esau sold his birthright for a mere bowl of red pottage. Therefore it is written in Genesis 25 that, quote, the elders shall serve the younger, unquote. And so it is. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, because the Philistines have dealt by revenge and have taken vengeance with a despiteful heart to destroy it for the old hatred. The word Philistines comes from a Hebrew root word meaning rolling or migratory ones. Many Kenites, vagabonds, migratory ones, dwelt in the land of the Philistines. The old hatred goes all the way back to the beginning, to the Garden of Eden, where Yahweh placed that enmity between the seed, or children of the serpent, and seed, children of the woman. Verse 16, Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I will stretch out mine hand upon the Philistines, and I will cut off the cherethims, and destroy the remnant of the seacoast. The word cherethims means executioners. If ever there was a word that described the characteristics of the Kenites, it's executioners, and it applies to all 4 of the hidden dynasties. They will kill your personal finances and your national economy, your education system, your government, and your freedom to worship. And those are your 4 hidden dynasties, by the way, that are spoken. They're actually represented by the 4 horses of the apocalypse. Okay, but that's in another study. Let's continue. Therefore, they will receive furious rebukes, and because of that, they shall know that he is Yahweh. Verse 17, And I will execute vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Yahweh when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. Does Yahweh love the Kenites? Yes, he does. Well, I could beg to differ with that, but we'll just continue here for now. We're almost at the end. And if they repent and turn to him, he will take them into his fold, and they will receive his blessings instead of his fury. Now, Lance, I take exception to that, because as the offspring of Cain, who is the son of that wicked one, as found in 1 John 3:12, I don't think he's going to be able to receive the kingdom, because he's from beneath. He comes from beneath. He was the father of those Pharisees and Sadducees. Okay, let's continue here. We're almost done. We are fast approaching that day of vengeance, the return of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, when all peoples of all nations shall know that He alone is Yahweh. What a glorious day that will be for those who now love and serve him. What a horrendous day that will be for those who love and serve themselves and their gods of gold and silver, and all that pretend to be of Yahweh, and yet is contrary to his word. Okay, I just want to add that Lance Knight is not trying to deceive anybody here. He knows a lot more than most mainstream pastors and preachers and so forth, but he still hasn't quite gotten to understand the totality of the word. But hopefully one day he'll get there. He may be there by now. Like I said, this was written 20 years ago. Anyway, here's my other platforms where I'm going to be posting this audio study. And I hope to see you for the next study. We're going to start with a new chapter, chapter 26. And until then, may Yahweh richly bless you. Praise Yah.